And so it looks like we got some big news here about Kamala Harris and the debate. So the debate is coming up on September 10th. It looks like there's still disagreement over the rules as to whether or not to keep the mic hot or to keep it muted. But the debate is coming up. It's going to be a really huge spectacle. I think a big thing that people are actually underestimating is people who are political junkies and really into politics, I think, are really big on obviously knowing what's going on and everything. But I think there's actually a good amount of people who either don't actually know that Kamala Harris is a nominee yet, or it just hasn't fully set in for them yet, where it's like it hasn't fully set in or soaked in for them. Some people don't know. And, we talk about this in the live stream chat where people are anecdotally talking about this. But I think the numbers actually bear this out because a lot of the polls out there have like 44, 43, 47, 45. The sum is nowhere close to 100. And so what it indicates is there's a large portion of the population who has not decided yet or maybe just doesn't even know what's going on with Kamala Harris. And so I think the debate is going to provide a really, really good opportunity for Kamala Harris to be able to gain those voters, reach out to those voters. And normally I would say debates don't really have much of an impact, but I think this is definitely an exception based on what happened with Biden obviously getting kicked out after his brain was melting, and it was just the thing that obviously got him out. It was either that or the debate media response, one of the two, or maybe a wombo combo of both. I think it was probably both. It was a combination of both. If the media wasn't responding so harshly, maybe does he survive? Potentially. But Kamala Harris is currently preparing for the debate, so we have some really cool insights as to how Kamala Harris is actually preparing for the debate. It says keep calm and get under his skin, how Harris is preparing for her first Trump debate. The prep sessions have been sandwiched between campaign stops, official duties as vice president, preparation for her first interview as a Democratic presidential nominee. So keep in mind, Kamala Harris's camp is the one that's advocating for the idea of the hot mics. The reason why she wants the hot mics is because she wants Trump to be a piece of trash like he was back in the 2020 debate. So in 2020, the first debate against Biden, he kept interrupting and it looked really bad. He came off looking like an a-hole, a dingbat basically, and that worked out really well for Biden because he didn't really do well in the debate either, but Trump was just such a D-bag that it made him look really, really good. So she's going to look for that. The only problem is, though, this election, you can't win this on a 2020 strategy. You can't win on a basement strategy. You can't just point at Trump and say he's really bad. You have to be able to get people to vote in favor of you. So that better not be Kamala's sole strategy here, because I think that this is a really massive opportunity for her to introduce herself to a lot of voters. And, the saying, first impressions last a lifetime. So she's going to have to figure out and come up with a strategy as to how to convert voters to actually vote for her as opposed to just against Trump. You don't want to just have your advertising as voting against Trump. You want to also have voting towards you. How is Kamala going to achieve that? I'm not exactly sure. But we have some insights as to what exactly is going on here. So here's what it says. So it says, getting under Trump's skin. A source told NBC News that while Harris's team is preparing to talk about a variety of topics, the campaign very much views the optics of the debate as critically important. To that end, the source said Harris and her team are focusing on homing in on how to needle Trump to rattle him. In that sense, the source said, it's going to be less about substance and more about showcasing Harris as a woman who isn't scared and isn't going to cower and who is standing up to Trump and holding him accountable. Her campaign also hopes to, quote, remind people of what it was like during Donald Trump's years, the source said. I'm not going to be sure if this is going to end up being effective because the thing is, for Donald Trump, when people think of his administration right now, what they're thinking about, because price levels are so high right now, when people think of the Trump administration, they think of those first 3 years where the economy was doing well, price aggregate level was low. So I'm not sure if this is going to be a great strategy. You would have to kind of reinvent the way people think about it. If you try to remind them of COVID and stuff like that, if you make that the thrust of your campaign, it might be a little bit questionable in terms of its efficacy because the way people are going to kind of choose the way that they view it. So I'm not sure that's necessarily going to work. It says the strategy includes Harris's possibly bringing up issues like Trump's failing to get Mexico to pay for the southern border wall. His response to the COVID pandemic is failure to come up with an alternative health care plan after he tried to repeal the 2010 Affordable Care Act, and his inability to pass the kind of sweeping infrastructure bill that Biden signed into law. Harris can also be expected to hammer Trump on the critical role he played in pushing Republicans to back out of a bipartisan border bill that would address many of the issues used to attack Democrats. I think this is going to be something that is going to be an attempt to appeal to moderates. There might be some evidence that this is working right now, maybe. It's definitely controversial, though, because you're kind of playing into right-wing framing. But what we know is the public opinion is pretty heavily on the side of, unfortunately, anti-immigrant sentiment right now. But what we can see with he's going to try to attack her on the border stuff, but she's going to have the sort of ace card, I feel like, where she's going to be able to pull out the ace of saying, hey, well, we wanted to pass this border bill and you were the one who killed it. So I think that's going to make it really, really tough for her to be kind of got on the whole thing of, hey, you're the border czar kind of thing. It says another source said that the Harris team plans to emphasize what it views as Trump's advanced age and lack of details on policy proposals. I'm not sure if being able to kind of boost him being old is going to work. Definitely the concerns about him being old and stuff is actually helpful, but I don't know if you could help it if you were to push it. It kind of has to be the voters themselves believe it, because you might come off as an asshole. Usually people, especially old people, are going to view that as being negative. Biden was able to show that he was kind of, his brain was melting on his own, so you kind of have to let it happen on its own. So you have to be careful about that. If you listen to the first debate without Joe Biden in it, that was the second worst debate performance in the history of presidential debates. It just got overshadowed because Joe Biden's was that terrible, the source said. So what we actually know is there's extensive evidence that Donald Trump is actually really bad in general election debates. So according to the polls, he actually lost every single one except for 2024. The thing about the 2024 debate, however, he didn't really win the 2024 debate. Biden just lost. So even that one debate that he technically won, it was really just Biden losing and not him winning. So there's not any evidence of him actually doing well, and so there's actually a lot of truth to that. Hillary won all of the debates. Biden also won all of the debates in 2020, and then Trump lost 2024. So in the general election, when voters see him speak, they just don't like him. They don't like the guy. They like the opposite person instead. So this is actually true that, yeah, they're focusing on that and missing the fact that Trump was so bad, all the black job stuff and stuff like that. Says the source added that while Harris is a real person who gets angry and emotional, the goal is for her to remain calm no matter how personal the attack is. So it's going to be another strategy. I think you want to try to elicit as negative of a response from Trump without reacting in a negative way. And you also want to avoid making it about race or gender. I think there's another stellar, spectacular thing that Kamala Harris has done in this election. She has entirely avoided talking about like her race or any of that stuff at all. Whereas Hillary made, her gender the sort of thrust of the campaign. She dodges it pretty much all the time. She even did in the CNN interview where it talks about like the picture of her niece looking at her, where Kamala Harris looks like Frieza, like God Emperor of like the Frieza, kind of thing. She basically dodges the question entirely, saying, hey, like I'm running for everybody, not for just this, which is really, I think, very stellar strategy. She also avoided even responding to Trump, which is pretty interesting as well, and the whole, hey, you're not black thing. There's also some tension going on in the Kamala campaign. So in the Kamala camp, there's like the Biden people and then there's her people. So there's kind of been some tension going on between them. And so Kamala was actually defending a lot of the Bidenomics, which a lot of the Bidenomics honestly were good when you kind of list out all the stuff. It's just the price level is so high, and that's the thing that people care about. So, but otherwise, it's been pretty good. So the Afghanistan withdrawal is another potential one. But, I mean, because he set the terms of the withdrawal, I feel like that's kind of another ace if you're trying to get her on the Afghanistan withdrawal, I feel like. So I feel like that doesn't really work either. That's another ace there that's going to work as well. But some of them are trying to do that. It also says avoiding a Tulsi Gabbard moment. Harris and her team are most focused on avoiding a moment from a Democratic presidential primary debate in July 2019 when Tulsi Gabbard launched a lengthy attack on Harris' prosecutorial record. What's crazy is the article actually says that Harris and her team are unprepared. I find this insane. It just goes to show how incompetent her 2020 campaign was, because that was like the big thing against Harris in the election at the time, was that she was a cop, like a hardcore prosecutor, like laughing at legalizing marijuana and going after truancy and stuff. How you could possibly not be ready for someone coming at you for being like a hardcore prosecutor is the hallmark sign of your campaign being incompetent. But the reporting seems to be clear that her 2020 campaign was just marred with disorganization, lack of a structure, etc. So I don't know what's more significant, the fact that she wasn't prepared then, or the fact that she has such a calculated, structured campaign now. Which one is more fascinating? I'm not sure. I'll leave that up for you to decide. But yeah, you obviously have to be ready for a Tulsi Gabbard moment if that happens to be insane. Another strategy that is often utilized by presidential campaigns, actually mock debates. So I was actually reading about Trump's in 2020. So Rudy Giuliani was really horny for Hunter Biden. I don't know if he had like a secret crush on him or if he wanted to have intimate relations with him. I'm not sure. But he kept pressing hard. And Chris Christie didn't like that strategy. So Chris Christie is playing a mock Biden in the debate with Trump. And he actually gets Trump to break character. So Chris Christie thought that it would actually be a really like non-efficacious strategy. The reason being that if he were to do that, Biden would just respond to saying, "Hey, look, your kid's getting rich under the White House, under the Trump administration." Trump lost money, but I think his kids gained money. So he kept saying that, and he actually got Trump to actually curse him out, breaking the actual mock debate. He actually got him to stop the mock debate by cursing him. I was like, stop with this shit or whatever. So this is a common strategy used. It looks like Kamala Harris also using this. So it says Harris is keeping a very small team of people directly involved in the debate preparations, including her brother-in-law, Tony West, longtime aide Rohini Kosoglu, Brian Nelson, a senior advisor for the policy campaign, and John Su, who was her chief legal advisor in the White House. Most of the preparation so far have provided Harris with briefing books on a variety of topics, gone through question and answer sessions. So they do like mock debates. I think Hillary did this as well in 2016. But according to the Trump campaign, they're not doing this. President Trump has proven to be one of the best debaters in political history, as evidenced by his knockout blow to Joe Biden. He didn't knock out Joe Biden, though. Joe Biden, it was like literally Joe Biden just, bah. It wasn't like Trump was like, bah. It was like Biden was like, you know what I mean? Like he punched himself. It wasn't a knockout blow from Trump. Biden just knocked himself out. Trump did like literally nothing but let him speak. That was it. So the amazing debate strategy by Trump was to let him speak. But that's not a knockout debate. That's not a knockout debate performance where you knock him out. It's like a let him punch himself. But if he's not doing the traditional debate strategy, that'd be pretty interesting because it would be sort of departure from what he did prior. So that'd be really interesting. But I think the debate can be huge. I think the floor is pretty low pretty high for Kamala Harris. I don't think she could do that poorly. Definitely can't be worse than a Biden scenario. It would be really hilarious if like it goes really bad and then there's like another swap out. That'd be really hilarious. But I don't think that's obviously not going to happen. But the point being, I think it'll be really interesting to see. I think the floor is pretty high for Kamala. I don't think she can do that poorly. And then Trump is just not good in general election debates, period. So I don't really know what he could do or any effective attack lines. He's also the criminal and she's the prosecutor. And she's the woman, the prosecutor. So people aren't going to feel bad for Trump. If it was a man, if it was like a woman who was being like, because I think a lot of people think the Hillary, I'll put you in jail thing was good, but like he lost that debate. So, I think a lot of people probably looked at that and were like, dude, like, why are you doing that? But if it's a man who's being jailed and the woman is jailing him, there's going to not really be that sort of sympathy for the man, right? But there will be for the woman, regardless of what she did, right? Just because of the gender dynamics at play. So, if he tries to have Afghanistan withdrawal, should be like, you decided the terms, we followed through with it. If it's the border, hey, we wanted this border bill. You were the one who shut it down. I don't really know what he has. I'm not really sure. I mean, Comrade Kamala, it's just not going to click. He's obviously a very emotional dude, so it's not going to work very well. So I don't really know what he can do. I'm not really sure what the strategy is. Trump, I don't think he can really gain that much, but the thing is, if the performance goes poorly for Kamala, it can hurt her because there's a lot of media kind of sway poll-wise for her. Even if the media picks up on it and kind of goes down on it, it can really put a rein on her parade. So it's important that she does well. And again, I'm very convinced there's a lot of people out there who are going to tune in who are not paying attention right now. And so it's vital, it's crucial that she does well in this debate. I think it's super, super important. But, let me know what you guys think is going to happen in the debate. What are some good strategies to counter Trump or to beat Trump? What do you think Kamala should do? Super interesting topic at hand.